Channel 7 would like to thank its sponsors for their participation in the 1996 Atlanta Olympics telecast.
This broadcast is presented by authority of the International Olympic Committee and the Atlanta Committee for the Olympic Games and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express prior consent of the International Olympic Committee.
Committee has awarded the 1996 Olympic Games to the city of Atlanta.
After 6 years, the moment has arrived. The city of Atlanta, an American commercial giant, is ready to host the world. The home of Coca-Cola and CNN is now a city charged with Olympic adrenaline. The venues are simply spectacular. Already based in Atlanta, some of the world's greatest sporting teams. But they make way for the athletes of 197 countries. Let the games begin. The 7 Network is proud to present this exclusive coverage. Now for the host of the opening ceremony of the 26th Olympiad, Gary Wilkinson.
Welcome, Australia, to the Games of the 26th Olympiad, the Games of Atlanta, state of Georgia, USA, heartland of that famed Southern hospitality. Atlanta is a brash and unashamedly commercial city, and now Atlanta hosts the greatest competition of all, the Olympic Games. So set yourself on the 7 Network Australia for 17 days of wonderful sporting theatre. The crowds are pouring in here to the Centennial Stadium for what is going to be a spectacular opening ceremony. I'm about to join them, and you can too, exclusively on 7, for the first of many days of unrivaled spectacle and drama. Days of amazing athletic feats. Days of triumph, days of despair. Days of winning, days of losing, days of power, and days of glory. Faster, higher, and stronger. The world's elite are here to pit their strengths and skills. It all begins in less than 30 minutes, Bruce McAvaney, and as you well know, it is the greatest show on earth.
Gary, thank you, and welcome Australia to the 7 Sports Centre here in Atlanta, where our team will be based for the next 17 days, making sure you at home don't miss a single moment of the Centennial Olympic Games. It really is an exciting day, and in a half an hour we'll catch up with Gary at the Olympic Stadium for the showpiece of any Olympic Games, the opening ceremony.
His solo performance, so simply wonderful, had to do with harmony. Again in Barcelona, the emphasis rode on political correctness, that and spectacle. Today, as the newest US president officiates here in Atlanta, the world awaits another chapter in Olympic history. Another reason not just to look at the athletes and nations on parade, but also at ourselves, at world peace.
Commentators Gary Wilkinson and Sandy Roberts.
Bruce McAvaney, thank you very, very much. And what an event it's going to be here in Atlanta, and not just a night, but days, mornings, evenings here, Australia and all around the world, as an estimated 3.5 billion people observe the opening ceremony for this Centennial Olympic Games, the Games of Atlanta. There are 10,897 athletes in the adjoining Fulton County Stadium, which you can see at the top left-hand corner of the screen there, as they prepare to join later on and march into the stadium and parade before the 85,000 fans packed into this marvelous new facility. And the program that Sandy Robertson and I have had a sneak preview of is just going to knock you off your feet, isn't it right?
Gary, it is, and it's just so wonderful to be here. In fact, it's the second time in 3 days that this stadium has been full to the brim with some 85,000 fans. The atmosphere is, well, it is just absolutely electric. People waiting in anticipation. Of course, the highlight for many of them is going to be seeing this huge United States team come out. The highlight for us is going to be seeing the Australians come out, and we're going to be catching up with as many of them as we possibly can. And I hope you can stay with us right throughout the morning there in Australia, wherever you may be viewing, because this is going to be an unforgettable opening ceremony. I think, Gary, as we look at the countdown, and there's some 14 minutes to go before official proceedings begin, we look back at the Olympic Games of days gone by, and of course, really, the trend has started in Moscow in 1980, and it has continued since then, highlighted, I guess, by the flaming arrow in Barcelona in 1992. Now, at our preview just 2 nights ago, the Americans and the people of Atlanta gave absolutely nothing away. In fact, they had 4 athletes running the torch up to the cauldron, and it seemed like to take an eternity. But we have been told they have something very secretive and very special that they are going to show to the world a little bit later on.
Well, you won't find anybody that can confirm it. We have, as I said, seen a preview of the entertainment part of the program, and when it comes to the cauldron, the torch entry to the stadium and the lighting of the cauldron, well, the whisper is it is going to be spectacular, but we cannot for the life of us find out what they're going to do. But knowing the very inventive people behind the production of this opening game ceremony, look out, it'll be fantastic.
In fact, as we're looking at just part of the crowd there near the cauldron, you can see all the seating that is there. We can give an Australian company a pat on the back, because Cometic Seating in Melbourne, namely Craig Johnson, John Tiberi and Mark Jeffrey, have had the seating contract, a mighty job, and they've done a tremendous effort. So well done, boys.
Yeah, great export dollars for Australia. Now there is the cauldron. That's what will carry the flame, the Olympic spirit, burning there for the next 16 days. And that is going to be a highlight of the opening ceremony when the flame arrives here in the stadium. Look at the crowd. They have been pouring in here for hours. The streets outside the stadium are still jam-packed. There are many thousands more people who want to get in here who can't. Either they can't find anybody that'll sell them a ticket, or they can't afford to pay the price that people are asking for tickets.
Or they can't get through the streets that have all been cut off.
Exactly. So as you can see, there are still some areas of the stand that have vacant seats, but obviously a lot of VIPs who get to take their seats. They've got about 10 minutes more to do so before the official proceedings get underway. People from every nation, and as you heard a short time ago in Anne Fullwood's interviews with people on the street, I mean, people have come from wide and far, from almost every country imaginable. There are 197 nations represented in competition at these Olympic Games, and they have drawn fans from their countries and from Australia as well. There is a huge contingent here. You cannot walk the streets of Atlanta, turn any corner without somebody saying, "G'day, mate, how are you, Sandy? Wilco?"
Well, interestingly enough, too, there are some 110 security staff working here at the stadium that have come across from Australia, and they've had a pretty rough time. So we certainly wish them well tonight, and for their entire stay at the Games. But it's great to see all the Australians here, and later on, of course, all the great Australians, Gary.
Absolutely. You will see among them Dawn Fraser, who, as we saw earlier, has taken part in carrying the torch in the final stages of its relay to Atlanta today. And this team, of course, will march into the stadium. That is going to be a highlight for people here in the audience and for Australians at home. But as we said, one of our absolute greatest, 3 gold medals, Dawn Fraser, is going to be accorded a very special honour here tonight with a select group of Olympians. And Anne Fullwood caught up with her a little earlier.
it must be hard to just take the stage and be...
A lot of people. And the United States of America, won't you hear a cheer when their team enters the stadium? Of course, they are enormously patriotic, as you know, and to the exclusion of almost everything and everyone else. And this is a great moment for them, for Atlanteans and Georgians in particular. Canadians here in force and strength.
In fact, Georgia really does have quite an Olympic flavour as far as its history is concerned, Gary, because now with Atlanta, it has 5 cities and towns named after...
Marching tonight.
There they are again.
Many of the swimmers are unable to make it tonight, about 70% not marching, including those that are swimming tomorrow. Michael Klim, Daniel Kowalski, Emma Johnson and Phil Rogers. We've got such strength, though, haven't we, in so many sports, swimming and cycling and rowing and canoeing. Our best ever effort was 8 gold medals away from home in Munich in 72 and Rome in 60. We won 13 gold in Melbourne in 1956. I'll be optimistic. I think we can match all of that. And I can give you some news that has just come through. Kathy Watt will be riding in the pursuit. The announcement has just come through from Australia. Kathy Watt will be riding in the pursuit. Lucy Tyler-Sharman will be riding the points race, but Michael Winnicke QC has made that judgment tonight in Australia, and that's good news for Kathy Watt, our gold medalist.
That is the good news, Bruce. Unfortunately, the bad news is that one of our swimming hopes, Angela Kennedy, has badly sprained her left ankle when leaving for the ceremony earlier tonight, and she's still with us. She's in a wheelchair, and the assistant manager, Julie Gehring, is taking her around, so bad luck for Angela. We just hope she's going to be okay.
Tim Forsyth in the middle of the screen there. Long blonde locks. Hopefully we'll see those jumping very high later on in the Olympic Games.
Third in Barcelona in the high jump, and it's a medal that's there. There's a chance for him. What great teams we're going to have with our awesome foursome leading the rowers.
Kyle Vanderkuyt walking through. Some of the track and field boys. I saw Ray Borner from the Boomers coming through. I'm sure his boys will be home watching him.
Bruce, you mentioned Kathy Watt. Let's not forget Darren Hill, Gary Newon, the sprinters. We're looking for great things from them. The Woodies in tennis, the Wimbledon champs 4 times.
And we've got a good beach volleyball team, and I'm pleased beach volleyball's in the Olympics. We're number 2 in the world. But a fantastic moment.
A sneaky peek at Laurie Lawrence as well.
Yes, it's one of our motivators here, along with Debbie Flintoff-King.
Tell me, is there jostling for position when everyone lines up to come in?
There certainly is, Bruce. You've been waiting out there. They initially line you all up, and then it's the more experienced athletes or the more aggressive athletes that try to force themselves into the outside lane so they can actually get a good view of the stand and the crowds and the excitement that's unfolding before you.
Our female tennis players on the screen before. This is something they never experienced, not at a tennis tournament.
And Jane, our biggest team ever, we had 314 in Melbourne in 1956, and we're well over 420 here.
And obviously it'll be far bigger than this in Sydney when we're entitled to have an entrant in every sport that is participated in.
That's correct.
And this is obviously a very important, a very major stepping stone in our quest towards 2000. One of the reasons that the team is so large is that we've really identified a lot of talented young athletes to bring away and give them the opportunity of experiencing what the Olympics is all about. It's very, very difficult to go into an Olympic Games as a favourite or as a first-timer.
A number of these athletes have been overseas for many months now, preparing, away from home, a lot of sacrifices. We say it's the best, the biggest, and certainly the most optimistic.
I think that's one of the great things about the opening ceremony. It's probably the first opportunity that all of these athletes have had to feel part of an Australian team, part of the Australian Monaghetti out there.
And obviously Cruz still has the second fastest time in the world now, so he's a really wonderful flag bearer.
The Australians make their way around the back of this magnificent stadium. And I mentioned Angela Kennedy, who unfortunately sustained that injury. Let us just hope that she is going to be okay.
She Aussie flags all around the stadium, which is great to see.
there is Angela, as you can see, being wheeled around in the chair by Julie Gehring. No doubt there'll be plenty of news surrounding her fitness in the next few days.
Teague, how are they going to fit all these athletes in the centre field where they conclude there are 197 countries coming out?
Well, that's going to be one of the great challenges, but I'm sure, Bruce, this opening ceremony has been so spectacularly organised that they've worked it out.
I'll be interested to see how many of them still have their jackets on by the end of the ceremony, because it's very warm out here tonight.
Temperatures would be still in the low 30s. Humidity's very high.
Yep. And that's, I think, what makes it somewhat oppressive for everyone.
Sandy.
And they'll also be looking for success in whitewater canoeing and also rowing.
Lovely
Melinda Gainsford, right in the middle of your screen, and just behind her,
Lee
Tim
Naylor
Forsyth.
talking. What an unusual sight that is. And young Scott Ferrier in the background. He's a new decathlete on the rise. Only been doing athletics for 3 years and has already scored over 8,000 points.
Kyle van der Kuip, Renee Poetska in that group. So the track and field athletes in force. Kyle was 5th in the world championship.
Barcelona.
And haven't they also had a tremendous range of distance runners with the Quacks, Walker and Dixon? Lorraine Moller, bronze medalist in Barcelona, the age of 40. Here she is competing again at the age of 41. She was the oldest track and field medalist in Barcelona.
Yes, they'll also be strong, I think, in cycling once again, and also equestrian.
Peter Snell, 800 in Rome in 60 when Herb won the 15, and then went to Tokyo, Snell, and won the 800 and the 1500. It's a tough double, that one. They've been great in equestrian, haven't they? Remember how well they did in canoeing in Los Angeles in 1984.
And rowing as well.
I've always admired their sportsmanship and the way, for such a small nation, the success they've had.